Hey, guys, you're here. You flippin' made it to Ignite Conference 2019. We all made it. I'm so far away. I am going to shuffle up. I didn't want to, be right up in your grill because sometimes I'm a bit expressive and I spit. And I thought, look, I didn't tell them to bring umbrellas, so maybe I shouldn't, but I will because this is where it's at. So tonight, it is my pleasure and privilege to basically tell each and every single one of you that you, my friends, are in for one wild ride over the next couple of days. Yes to that one person who's ready. Is anyone else ready for this? Oh my gosh. I think I counted. It's number 7 for me at Ignite. They're going to bar me next year. 7 is just, it's the cap. But every year, something new happens. Every year, without fail. And look, I'm not going to lie, I'm an all-in kind of gal, okay? So I'm not going to waste any time, and we are just going to jump right in. And I'm going to do that by sharing with you a story. Recently, I started going to a gym. I'm from a place in Melbourne. It's called Craigieburn. Can everyone say Craigieburn? It's a bit of a hole, and we've never had a gym, but we got one. So about 3 million people in Craigieburn joined the gym. So there's a lot of people all the time. And I come from an ethnic family, and my mum and me were walking after a good gym sesh, and my mum was she was complaining a bit. Maltese people, they like to complain. It gets them discounts. Why not? We just complain, okay? And she said, too many people in the sauna, all the people, they don't let me in. It would be nice if they gave me a turn. It's like in the kids' pool, it's always closed. They say brown code all the time. And they come in the adults' pool. And I was like, Mum, do you know what code brown is? It means that someone took a poo in the pool. You don't want to be in the kids' pool when it's a brown code, Mum. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Tonight, I'm calling that brown code. And we are jumping from the kids' pool into the adults' pool, all right? And you know where you want to be tonight. Are you with me? Or am I going to be the only one in the adults' pool tonight? Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Rita Cumbo. I love my mum. Wonderful. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Oh my gosh, why is she wearing a Christmas jumper and Christmas earrings? I love Christmas. What of it? I wanted to walk out on stage in a Christmas jumper when it feels like 80 degrees. I wanted to do it. I love Christmas. Does anyone else love Christmas? Oh my gosh. I have bell earrings. Can you hear it? It's like little elves dancing inside my ear the whole night. I'm going to take them off. It's really, really annoying. Whoop, there we go. Anyone want a Christmas earring? There you go. And get this. This is straight from my mum's drawer. Check this out. Techno Santa. You can't look at it for too long because it'll blind you. But I love Christmas. Is it off? Yes, it's off. And double chin, turning it off. I love a good double chin. I'm that person who has a Christmas CD in my car all year round, and I listen to it. Me and Mariah Carey. I don't want a lot for Christmas. I just love it. You can listen to that if it's Easter. You can listen to that if it's February or December, which is more appropriate. But I just love it. But you know what? It got me thinking, especially when it comes to those Christian Christmas carols. They kind of present this image of a sweet little baby Jesus, this cute, precious baby Jesus. And Christmas night when he was born, it's just painted out to be this calm, peaceful evening. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. And that's all lovely and everything. But the irony being, firstly, that Mary was giving birth on Christmas night. Now, I have never given birth before, but I have YouTubed it. Big mistake, do not YouTube it. You will regret it immediately. But you know what? Calm and peaceful and bright are not necessarily the adjectives I'd use. But it also got me thinking that we all have this particular image of who Jesus is to us. Maybe for some of us, this image is this cute little plastic baby Jesus doll. Maybe that's our image. And I'm not going to lie, plastic baby Jesus dolls are kind of creepy. I Googled them. Look at that. That one on the, it's your right, that is one that lights up at nighttime. How creepy. You can take it down now. 10 seconds is too long already. But we have this idea of who Jesus is in our life. We look at Jesus, we might even read about Jesus, and we conjure up these ideas of who he is, what he can do, and what he can't do. And sometimes, in the midst of all of this, we can end up mistaking Jesus, we can end up mistaking God for just a story, just a nice story. Or maybe for some of us, Jesus is a little bit similar to like Santa Claus. Really nice, friendly guy, doesn't really have too much of an impact on my life until I need him for something. So the problem, is not necessarily that God isn't real. It's just that we might not let him be more than just a story to us sometimes. More than just a nice Christmas carol, a nice plastic baby Jesus doll to us sometimes. And so the first thing I want to do tonight, and I told you I'm an all-in kind of gal, we are going to launch in, is I want to just ask you one question. But the thing is, your answer, not the person next to you or 3 seats behind you, your answer to this question, it's wildly important. Because your answer will change the way that you live. It will change where you go. It will change how you see yourself, how you love others. Now, I know that maybe you've learned heaps about God, maybe in your Catholic RE classes. Maybe you're the one who's teaching the Catholic RE classes and you know a whole heap of stuff about God. Maybe you've learned a lot about God from going to church. Maybe you're the priest. Maybe you're the chaplain. But, you might know a lot of stuff about God up here. You might have been an A+ student in your RE class, but tonight my question isn't about facts. It's not about how much information you might know. It gets a little personal. And all I want to ask is, who is God to you? Who is God to you? And as we step into these next few days, man, that question and your answer is wildly important. Because thinking about God and knowing God, they're 2 very different things. And tonight, you know what? We start here, but my hope is that we don't stay here. Because nothing ever changes when we don't move, okay? Remember, it's a code brown baby. I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, it's a code brown baby. That's it. So, interesting little turn. So the theme of this conference is new again. And I don't know about you, but when I think of something new and exciting, I think of Disney. And I love Disney so much. I think of a magic flying carpet. Oh my goodness, that moment when Aladdin zooms up with his fully secotted up carpet and Jasmine, hops on. What's the song? A whole new world. It's amazing. Beauty and the Beast. I love Beauty and the Beast and that transforming moment. That transforming moment when the spell breaks and the beast is spun up in these lights and this glitter and this glam, and he transforms into a human again. It's incredible. It's wonderful. It's Disney. And I love Disney. It's great and all, but I kind of want to start a new talk series called Disney Ruins Lives, okay? Because it's not real. And we grow up thinking that it's possible to have a friend that's a talking teacup, and it's just not, and it's disappointing sometimes. Because life, when the movie ends, we realize is a lot more real than Disney. And I think some of us have this really sort of Disneyified idea of God in our life, understanding of what he can do. Maybe if you're anything like me, we're waiting for this one big spectacular moment where God is going to open the heavens and he's going to speak to us with a big booming light and voice and say, it is me. Maybe it's just me. And do something new. Or maybe we just expect this dramatic appearance of God in our life. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I believe that God can do those things. I think he can do those big things, but I think we actually find it harder to believe that God could actually speak to us in our everyday, ordinary moments. It's harder to believe that he would be interested in me on a Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock after school. Now tonight, I could have picked 355 stories to share with you, but I'm only going to pick two. Just two stories of how God kind of burst through in some pretty ordinary moments that didn't feel so ordinary afterwards. Last year, I went to Malta. I went to the motherland to go to my cousin's wedding, which was really, really awesome. And I don't know, I don't really get much of a chance to dress up. This is basically my fashion sense every day of the week. And I thought, you know what, I want to look really nice. And so I had my eye on this emerald green silk dress. And it was pretty special, and I got it on a discount, so Mum was happy, so was I. But I don't know if you guys know, but Mediterranean summer means sweat. Okay, and I really wanted to look really, really nice in this dress, but I knew that, okay, I have to invest in some pretty good deodorant. So I bought some clinical deodorant. The day of the wedding comes along, and I had it all sorted. I had my plan. And I was getting ready in the morning, getting excited, and I put my deodorant on, and I was standing there fanning my armpits, making sure that it was dry. And I put my dress on, fanning my armpits, looking really graceful in front of fans. And then my dad came in. He's like, "Justine, we're late for the wedding." And I don't know, sometimes I'm going to admit, I'm 29 years old, but I can still revert to a bit of brat mode. I was like, "I'm coming, Dad. Just give me a second. I'm fanning my pits." Anyways, I was in a bit of a rush, and I kind of wasn't ready, and I grabbed my bag, and I ran out the door, and I got in the car, and I looked down, and I realized that my deodorant didn't have time to dry. So I was stuck with clinical deodorant, sweat patch, pit marks on my dress, and I was like, the one thing that I didn't want to happen, and it happened. And mate, that's where I lost it. It's kind of embarrassing to tell this story, but I went into like ultimate brat mode. I was like, "Dad, look what you did. This is all your fault. I've got sweat patches now." And I'm like sitting in the back seat, in the middle seat. I'm like, "Put the aircon on my armpits. I need to dry the dress." And he's like, "Do you want me to stop at a chemist?" I'm like, "No, it's too late for that." And so I was being a brat in the back seat, just so concerned and swept up in myself. And we got there, and my dad's like, "Do you want a tissue?" And I was like, "No." And so he left, and there I was in this car feeling so stupid. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I had rejected a stop at the chemist to get a bottle of water. I had no tissue, so I was left on the back seat, spitting on my hand, trying to like wipe it off. And then I'd lick my hand. I got clinical deodorant on my hand, and my tongue started to shrivel up. And I was like, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. And in that moment, aside from being a complete idiot, I realized that I was completely selfish, that I completely disrespected my dad, and it wasn't his fault, it was my fault. I wasn't on time. This really embarrassing, ordinary moment of mine made me feel really guilty. And so we went through the wedding, and I kind of knew that I had to apologize, but when you feel so stupid that you're like, well, what can I do to make up for this? And the wedding went on, and I couldn't really find the words to apologize. And it got to the time where I was flying back to Australia. My parents were staying in Malta, and I knew that this was my last chance. I just had to apologize to my dad. And we were standing in the food line, and I just worked up the courage, and I'm like, "Dad, the other day at the wedding, I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. That was so rude." And I kind of braced myself to get, the talk. Like, "It took you a while. I've been waiting for you to apologize. Do you realize how silly that was? You ruined my morning. I was waiting for that." But instead, my dad said to me, "No, Justine, I'm sorry. I was reflecting, and I remember that as you were growing up, that's the way that I would deal with my frustration. I would yell, and I would lose my temper, and I'd get angry, and it's my fault that you reacted like that." Have you ever felt like the breath has just got knocked out of your gut before? I was just like, what? It was my stuff up that you're saying sorry to me for. And in a strange way, it was almost like in that moment, I wasn't just looking at my dad, and it wasn't just about the deodorant incident. In a strange Justine Cumbo way, I feel like God met me there in that line. And he spoke to me in a new way that said, no matter what you do, Justine, your mistake, the ugliest part of you, it doesn't put me off. And in a new way, it's like God was using my dad to tell me, I am the God of the first, second, third, fourth, 12 chances. And there's nothing you can do to make me love you any less. It's like he gave me this free gift, and it's kind of like in that moment, this gift was unwrapped, and this layer of what I thought God was, it came off, and I just started to see this newness of God that I'd never experienced before. This newness about who he is, what he can do, and how he sees me. In an ordinary, not Disney, not plastic baby Jesus doll moment, that's where God met me. Plastic baby doll Jesus can't do that for me, and neither can Santa. But God can. And this is the kind of God that we're talking about here. Not a God of magic and spells and instant proof when I want it, but a real, everyday God. And I tell you what, when you have a new experience of seeing God in your everyday, you can't stop seeing him all around you. Story number 2. This one's a little different. I just want to share with you a story of someone who I've been journeying with for quite a few years now. She was a pretty happy girl. I guess you could say she grew up in a big family and had a great upbringing. And this girl, she believed in God, I guess, as much as you could when you were in primary school. And you know what? She had a pretty all right life. But when she got to high school, things, I suppose you could say, started to get a little tough. She desperately just wanted to fit in. I suppose if you've ever desperately wanted to fit in, you'll know that you kind of do anything to just blend. And this girl kind of felt like if anyone knew that she believed in God, then that would make her a bit different. So she hid that. She also started to feel really ordinary. When she looked around, she started to compare herself to everyone else. She started to feel so ordinary that she actually believed that there was something wrong with her, that there was nothing important about her. So she decided to change the way that she looked because she thought that that would fix her. She thought that that would make her more important, that that would make her more noticed. She started doing her hair, wearing different clothes, wearing makeup, trying to hang out with the cool people because she thought that that would make her loved, that that would make her known. When she was in year 8, she had this really big crush on a boy, I'm talking big crush. She talked about it a lot. She really, really liked him. But eventually he told her that she needed a bit of work on her physical appearance. And this kind of confused her a little bit because she never sort of looked at herself and worried about those things before, but all of a sudden she felt like she needed to change drastically. And it's interesting because deep down inside, every day she would exhaust herself trying to be someone that she wasn't. But on the outside, everyone knew her to be the really happy, funny girl at school. She just perfected the art of hiding. Now, after a couple of days, weeks, years of doing this, you can imagine that it got pretty tiring, yeah? And I don't know if you guys can relate, but she started to feel this bit of an ache in her heart. I was kind of like, man, surely there's more to this. Surely there's more to me than this. Now, it's interesting because around that time, she was in about year 10, her older sister was going on this Catholic camp. And she'd never been on one of these Catholic camps before, and she kind of didn't want to tell anyone about it, but her sister convinced her to go. It was a new experience for her, but she thought, what the heck, I'm going to go. And she thought that going to this camp, she'd rock up and there'd be a bunch of cute old grandmas with that purple tinge hair, and, she could have a cuppa and a bicky and all will be well. But instead, what she found when she rocked up was that there was other people there that looked like her, young people at a God thing. And she was going to these sessions, and they were talking about God in a way that she'd never, ever heard anyone talk about God and her before. They were saying these what sounded like new and crazy things, like God actually cares about you, that he has a plan for your life, that what you do with your life is important, that he died and rose 2,000 years ago, not just as a cool story, not just for a random person, but for her. And man, this stuff she was hearing was new. And it was kind of changing her. She was kind of learning these new things that she'd never heard before about God. And she started to see him in a new way. But the moment wasn't extravagant, but it was slowly changing her. Now it's interesting because on the Saturday night, there was a big prayer night. And that was new for her as well. But again, she was on a bit of a roll, feeling a bit courageous, and she thought, what the heck, I'll go along with it. Everyone else seems pretty keen. And on this night, they said that God wanted to do some big things in her life. But he wanted to just know her personally. Again, a little bit new, a little bit uncomfortable, but she went along with it. And on the prayer night, some lady came up to her and just put her hand on her shoulder and started to pray for her. This girl who felt so insignificant, who tried desperately every day to change anything and everything about her. In this moment, this lady was just praying for her. Whenever she tries to explain what happened in this moment, it just feels inaccurate. Because she felt like, not just thought, not just knew in her head, but she felt in here that she had the first experience of God of her life. And you know what? It was a lot more real, a lot more personal, and very new. And it's weird because she describes it as feeling like God was speaking to her, but God didn't sort of open the clouds, appear to her in a Disney dream. She felt this movement in her heart. And she felt like in that moment that God was saying to her, I see you. Of all the people in the world right now, I see you. I know you, and you are enough. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever told you that you're enough, but when you hear those words, it's probably one of the most freeing experiences of your life. And the thing is, she kind of knew that it was a God moment because 14 years later, no one has been able to convince her otherwise. That moment, that ordinary moment, 14 years later, feels newer than it did on that day. She realized on that day, and it took her a while to figure out, that her identity was not in someone else's life, but her identity was in something new that never faded, that never got old, that was always new again and again and again, even when she forgot, even when someone else tried to convince her otherwise, even when she stuffed up. It was always true of her, and it never changed. She knew that her life mattered, and it mattered to God. I knew in that moment that my life mattered because that girl was me. And you know what? 29 years later, my birthday was this week. And man, I just can't unsee God in my life. He is actually everywhere, and I'm not going crazy. Once you start to see God doing new things in your life, it's like you can't stop seeing him all around you, and not in a Disney moment. Not in a plastic baby Jesus doll, because remember, that's a little bit creepy. But you just start to see him everywhere. And you start to realize new things about who he is, what he can do, where he wants to take you. I mean, take my life as an example. It is so much more. than anything you or someone else can do for you. Because you see, our God is not the God of a once-off moment. That's not the kind of God he is. He's a new, every minute, every day kind of God. That's the kind of God that wants to meet us here over the next few days. He's the one who says to us in Scripture, in Isaiah 43, behold. Now, when God says behold, it means everybody hold up. I'm about to say something pretty important, yeah. And God only speaks truth. So when he says behold, we listen. He says, behold, I, not you, I, God of the universe, who created you because I thought that you were important. I think that you are important. I, God, am doing a new thing. And it springs forth. Don't you perceive it? Now I'm going to put it into my translation. And it's like God is saying to us, guys, Justine, Daniel, Sally, David, guys, listen. I am doing new things all around you every day, and I'm waiting for you just to give me a chance to show you. That I want to bring you a newness in your life that you can't bring for yourself. A newness that no one, no other person, no other place, no other holiday can ever satisfy, because that newness that you're looking for, it comes from me. That's the kind of God he is. He can make all things new where we can't. He can heal you and me in ways that we haven't been able to heal ourselves for years. He can speak truth over you, and the only thing I have believed, is a lie. He can make all things new again, if only we would open our eyes a little wider. Just give him a chance. We have to be ready to see God in a new way. That's the thing. God doesn't just happen to us or force us to be open to him. We have to be open. We need to make a new decision to let God into our life in a new way. I hope you're not scared when I say this. I hope you're as excited as I am. But God wants to go deep over the next few days. He doesn't just want to go jet skiing on the surface. He wants to go scuba diving deep, okay, over the next few days. And you know what? You don't discover anything new by staying safe in the shallows. We all know what happens in the shallow end of the kiddies pool, okay? Code round, code round. You don't want to be in the kiddies pool. So how do we get the most out of the next few days? How do we make the most of this new experience? Well, I've got a couple of tools that I want to share with you. And the first one is that I am declaring this a Barbie-free zone, okay? A Barbie-free zone. Sometimes when we come to these things, we feel like we've got to be perfect. That's right, I made that. Actually, my brother did. I'm not going to take the credit. I actually made my brother make that for me. Sometimes we feel like when it comes to God, we've got to be all perfect. We've got to get on our knees and say all the right prayers. And do I need to learn Gregorian chant? How do I blend in with all these other Catholics at this event? We think we've got to pray and be perfect and holy and give God the best bits, but hide all the chocolate wrappers under our bed. Hide all the real bits. Tonight and over the next few days, I don't just want to challenge you. I want to double dare you. That's right. I said it. That's right. To do something pretty wild. And that is to talk to Jesus. Because I think a lot of us can talk about him, can hear about him. But have we actually ever talked to him? And in a way that's real. Don't just give him the best bits. Don't just give him your Instagram glory feed. Give him the good bits, but give him the imperfect bits, the bits that you're still working on, the failure bits. But can I really talk to God about all that stuff? Yes, you can. Isn't that a bit much for God? No, it's not. He just loves knowing when you need him. And the thing is, in the next few days, your experience with God might not be this extravagant Disney moment. Might not be a magic flying carpet moment for you. Because God is in the business of transformation, not of quick fixes, okay? You're too important for God to rush this process. The second tool for the next 3 days is don't put the brakes on. It's a code brown, baby. There is no time to waste. Be a little wild. Step out of your ordinary. Do something new that you haven't done. Take risks. Do things that you wouldn't normally do. Put away your phone. Ooh, that's a scary one. Maybe talk to a human being. You know, I don't know what other kind of conferences you've been to before, but at this conference, you're actually allowed to say hello, how are you, to someone that you've never met before. And even if you want, you could talk about God. You're allowed to do that at this conference. You don't need to worry about what other people think of you, so don't put the brakes on. Be a little bit extra. You know what? I wanted to come out on stage in a Christmas jumper with a flashy Santa Christmas thing. Is that a bit extra? Yeah, it is, but I don't really care. Is that a bit OTT? Yeah, it is, but I don't really care because I'm an all-in kind of gal, and I want to invite you to be all-in kind of people with me over the next 3 days. Are you with me? You really? You want to go all in? You want to go all in with me? All right, I'll hook you guys up with Christmas jumpers for the next few days and we'll see. We'll see who the dedicated ones are. Lastly, I'm going to invite you to trust in God. And look, I'm going to get real with you. Sometimes when I hear people say, you just need to trust in God, you know, sometimes it just feels like the way they describe it should feel like me standing in a breeze in a white dress with like nice, peaceful music around me. But that's just not my experience. Most of the time, when I have to trust God, it does feel like a bit of a risk. Sometimes trusting in God looks like ugly crying. Sometimes trusting in God looks like letting go of what I thought I needed and trusting that He knows what I need. We don't need to be scared of God. I get that it can feel scary, but we don't need to be scared of God. Sometimes we underestimate what He's capable of, and we underestimate how much God actually loves us. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, but just a final word, I suppose. You're probably going to forget really, really quickly the stuff that I've said to you tonight. And you know what? I'm not offended. Because what happens up here at Ignite Conference, that's not the point. It's what happens in here. The things you won't forget are the new things that I believe and I am so excited that God is going to do in every single one of your lives if you let Him. That's the stuff that matters. So who is God to you? A plastic baby Jesus doll, a cute Christmas carol? Maybe you've forgotten who God is. Maybe you want to know who He is. Over the next few days, I really want to encourage you to join me and listen for God in new ways. Decide in a new way. Talk to Him in a new way. Because God sits next to you. And I know that He says, behold, just give me a second. Just give me 1 minute with you and I'll show you that I want to do new things if you'll let me. So tonight we start here, and you can stay here if you want. But my hope and my prayer is that you don't.